Not exactly the extravagant wedding I think everyone was expecting. Given the amount of you and your business had to put in for all those garbs, I'm certain there were at least some expectations that weren't met. After the scene he caused and the involvement of the royal family, it isn't a surprise that some of the guests thought this would be a much larger event with an even greater scandal. I might have overheard someone moping about there being no one from the royal family in attendance. Imagine the unnecessary stress that would have caused. A royal storming in during the vows and proclaiming their love for the groom. With the ability to stop the procession, the royal takes the groom for himself, and the guests erupt in applause at the sight of the abuse of power. How ridiculous. There is a reason I don't often meddle in the affairs of my employers. Had it not been for the invitation and our families having such strong ties to one another, I can't say I would have been losing sleep over skipping out on today. Well, I've come to show my support and play the part of a good friend, I suppose. And as a friend, I'm unsurprised by the outcome. Sir Faber has never been the type for extravagance. And I assume he chose to marry someone with similar tastes. And according to him, they do. Which is just some ploy to get the princess off his back, surprisingly. I still couldn't tell you much about her, outside of what I did hear from him. Apparently, they met when he was doing rounds in the business district about 2 years ago. She often does audits of products sold using the water filtration system her family owns. No matter how much money is in that family, I'm happy that she found someone smart enough. That at least makes the decision to reject His Royal Highness's proposal much more understandable. God knows what sort of mind-numbing she would have been subjected to had she sold her soul to the royal family. Well, even more so. But at least she gets a happy ending of sorts. Even if it's not a particularly glorious life like the one she was offered. I think she prefers it that way. So long as she loves her husband, there shouldn't be any concern. Sir Faber has never been the type to strike me as a hopeless romantic. But who knows what it's like behind closed doors. Whatever his wife saw in him, it must have been enough to suffice. I hate to compare, but I do envy him in that regard. I don't even know how much you work to get to this point. You know, the usual gifts and gestures you hear about. Flowers, chocolates, dinner dates. Whatever it is that gets someone to say yes to your advances. I am very well aware of the fact that I did not partake in any of those things before asking you. Is that the sort of thing you enjoy? Why else would I ask? Don't tell me. A few particular attendees have gotten in your ear about it. If I've been approached, you must have. With the distinctive look of the cape and our matching attire, sooner or later, someone was going to start asking questions. For the record, they all thought your work was Lovely. And you may or may not be receiving new commissions in the coming weeks. Of course I had to brag about you. I received a custom product from the most famous luxury clothing line in the kingdom. Made by the heir themselves. How could I not? And I suppose we are equally lucky if you just so happened to have a hero who will be written about in the history books for saving the kingdom from a wrath of a centuries-old beast. Quite the pair we make. If I didn't know any better, I would have said we unintentionally upstaged the bride and groom. Unfortunately, scandals are too hard to pass up, it seems. I'm not insinuating anything. Why would I, when I made it clear that you are the one who decides if and how we proceed from here? Yes, and friends can do more than simply stand next to each other and awkwardly at a wedding reception. They can talk. Maybe even flirt. I unfortunately don't have too many friends to be absolutely sure. But maybe you can be a nice test for any future friends I might come across. Oh? And what, might I ask, is wrong with wanting more friends? However things go between us will determine how I act with everyone else. So by all means, please, tell me how you would prefer for me to act. I assume no flirting, if that is your concern. You can be honest, you know. So picky and entitled. But I hope you aren't expecting me to be charming only towards you in the attempt to bolster your own ego. Especially not with someone you have little interest in pursuing a relationship with. I might have said something to the effect of you deciding where this goes. But that requires some transparency on your end. And frankly, it seems like you're taking pleasure in teasing me with the prospect of a relationship that isn't as simple as being friends. Well, if memory serves me correctly, you aren't too fond of very public displays of affection, or public proposals, for that matter. Who is to say that was my intention? But either way, I don't think someone else's wedding is an appropriate time to bring that sort of attention to oneself. Anything like that is beyond tasteless, and I won't hear the end of it if I ruin someone else's special day like that. If I want to be treated with respect on my own special day, it's best I give a reason for my friend to return the favor. Who knows when that will come. But I'd like to make sure that my current actions don't come back to bite me in the future. Yes, worse than they already have. I'm attempting to do better this time around. Most importantly, to do right by you, of course. And so I must ask, what would you have me do to make up for the poorly executed proposal? If you'd prefer a redo, you need only ask. I'm just asking to make sure, but I'm open to suggestions. Take your time. It's definitely not happening today. Well, at least some things aren't happening today. I can't assume what you want. Though I will say, with all the time I've spent talking with you, I think I'm starting to understand a bit better. What I mean is, even if you don't tell me, I'll figure it out. I am certain I can read you like a book. Like right now. you want today to be over just as much as I do. That's what I thought. I think a little longer and a formal goodbye to the host should be sufficient. Afterward, I can take you home. And then, once there's no public to worry about, it's all fair game.